This year the yellow jersey was shared by a select few, a world number one, a world champion, an heroic Frenchman and two of the predicted favourites. Philippe Gilbert was first to wear the jersey for the overall leader after his win on the first stage, but he only had one day to shine in yellow, as the next day the Belgian handed it over to world champion Thor Hushovd after the team time trial. The Norwegian stayed in yellow for a week, with a very slight lead over his closest opponent, Cadel Evans, who was already hot on his wheels. On the ninth stage, however, it was a Frenchman that created quite a buzz. Thomas Voeckler, 19th in the overall standings, didn't appear to be a threat to Hushovd, who let him pass. But the leader of the Europcar team would be the one to spend the first rest day in the coveted yellow jersey. Nobody had much faith that he'd hold onto it for very long, with the Pyrenees approaching, but they hadn't counted on the fighting spirit of the Alsace native. Voeckler did more than just survive the Pyrenees. He rose up to the level of the best riders and managed to keep his yellow jersey. The days went by and Voeckler was still in yellow. Voeckler mania pervaded on the roadsides of the Tour, and there were even hopes for him to make it to Paris in yellow. He was aware of his limits, however, but they didn't get the better of him until much later on the last mountain stage, as he led the sprinters to the Alpe d'Huez. The Tour favourites had no choice but to turn up the heat. Voeckler, despite a heroic performance the previous day between Pinerolo and Galibier, could no longer keep up with the pace set by Cadel Evans. At the finish line, the Frenchman handed his jersey over to Andy Schleck, but he had nothing to be ashamed about after 10 impressive days in yellow. Andy Schleck, however, wouldn't be wearing the coveted jersey for long. The end of the Tour was in sight, and he still had the individual time trial ahead of him, the only one in this year's race. In this exercise, other riders were better suited to the route, Cadel Evans to mention but one. The Australian continued to fulfil his role as favourite, and his goal was to succeed. After 43 kilometres of time trialling, Evans claimed the yellow jersey on the eve of the grand finale. Vigilant at the beginning, victorious at the Mur de Bretagne, and on the defence in the mountains, Evans had a strategy for his success. As the first Australian to win the prestigious race, he has entered into the Tour de France Hall of Fame and won a place in cycling history.